Sure the brightness is up and adjust all my settings before someone complains, as they always like to with when it comes to me and this website. So there is a Trump story that I'll be reading, and then after I read it, I'll give my commentary and talk about some other things, and we'll proceed from there. President Trump on Monday claimed Democrats are using the coronavirus. That word, I still can't get used to saying it ever since I got demonetized. I would always block myself off from saying it to steal the 2020 election, arguing closures of businesses and demands for mail in voting are not driven by a pandemic that has killed nearly 180,000 Americans in 5 months, but to defeat him. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election, Trump told delegates at the Republican National Convention gathering in Charlotte, North Carolina. They're using COVID to defraud the American people, all of our people, of a fair and free election. We can't do that. The remarks come at the outset of the Republican National Convention, and then the Hill, with their lovely grammatical skills, they put as. The president finds himself trailing Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden in national polls and a number of surveys of swing states. They were made as part of a stem winder of a speech. I don't think I've heard that word before, stem winder of a speech by Trump that included several misstatements, including that Senator Elizabeth Warren dropped out of her party's presidential primary the day before Super Tuesday's contest. She actually competed in those contests, and after not winning a state, dropped out later. Trump also repeated claims more spelling gaffes by the Hill. Trump also repeated claims should be disputed by experts that mail ballots would be fraudulent and that they do not have security features to avoid fraud. Experts have consistently said there is little evidence of meaningful fraud in mail ballots. As Trump spoke in Charlotte, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy was testifying before a House committee over the Postal Service's ability to handle mail ballots and recent reforms that have slowed delivery. Monday marked a rare instance where Trump directly accused Democrats of overstating the threat of the pandemic to gain an advantage in the election. The U.S. has by far the most reported COVID-19 infections of any country in the world at 5.7 million, and more than 175,000 people in the U.S. have died of the virus. The president has in recent weeks increasingly called into question the possible results of November's election, alarming some Democrats and civic groups. He told Chris Wallace in a Fox News Sunday interview in late July that he would wait to see the results of the vote before deciding whether to accept them. Oh my God. He has taken to pushing the false claim that the result could have months or even years to determine if mail ballots are widely used. And on Monday, Trump told supporters that the only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. So I've made it very clear I don't support. Oh, Bernie's on CNN right now, but I made it very clear I don't support either party. Both parties have people that I like in them, but that comment that Trump made was so damn delusional. The only way we're going to lose is if it's rigged. Oh my God. So when he says something like that and his supporters, say that the Demo clowns are being conspiracy theorists for thinking that he's, I guess, ridiculous to believe the mail-in ballots can be fraudulent, understand a statement like, the only way we lose this election is if it's rigged, adds fuel to their fire of thinking that he's going to refute the results in the event that he loses. Remember, there are a lot of people who have short memories, but in the 2016 cycle, he, in the days leading up to the actual election taking place, floated the idea that the election was rigged. He talked about people using dead relatives or just dead people in general's names to vote multiple times. Uh, and then after he won the election, suddenly these claims, no longer were of interest to him. So I'm saying that we actually have proof that in the past cycle, prior to winning it, he was saying that it was going to be rigged against him. And this is basically a thing he does where if he thinks there's a chance of him not losing, if he loses, which we haven't seen take place with either of these elections, it could take place with this one, whatever, it can go either way. But if he loses, he's going to say that it was rigged, that it was a fraud, phony, trick, all that stuff. But if he wins, shh, I won. We don't have to worry anymore. Oh my God. Also, I appreciate out of the 4 people here, that 3 of them already clicked the like button, because I usually have to beg and demand for that to happen. I also noticed that in the 5 months since the pandemic began, I don't usually like talk about the virus that much anyway, because it's being covered all day long in the news. Wikipedia's been covering it, or I'm sorry, WikiPiss, as I like to call them. You have these other progressive commentators that are discussing it day in and day out. So I'm in really a difficult position where you either try to find other news, because there are other things going on, they're just not being as frequently discussed, or you basically just sit back and wait for this to be over. And in saying that, I'm basically giving the I don't want to say the forewarning, but indicating that I have not spent months trying to use this against Trump. So when he's saying that the Democrats are trying to steal the election, if I blame him for something that took place, which I've been very rare to do, it's not to go and suggest that Biden will somehow be this magical office holder that we need to shove in that position right now. Because as I've done multiple videos, including one just a few weeks ago, about how awful Biden is, and how terrible I think he would be as president as well. So it's really disturbing when you're in this position of anytime you say something bad about Biden, you're a Trump supporter. Anything you say something, anytime you say something bad about Trump, you're a Democrat, a closet liberal, or whatever. Like someone on their you have to pick a team whenever you criticize one side over the other. And again, what that really is that people have biases where they don't want to accept that someone can not like what they like without them being part of one of the groups, because they're so used to just, if you're not on my team, you hate me. If I'm not on your team, you hate me. There's no in-betweens. There's no people who say the hell with both sides. No, I thought the convention was actually going to be a pretty peaceful event, because the Republicans already renominated him. A bunch of his family members are going to speak, his kids, his wife, and a bunch of politicians that he's mended fences with over the course of his tenure are also giving speeches as well. So I was really thinking, okay, they're just going to give a bunch of speeches all kissing each other's backsides, and then we'll, I don't even have to talk about this convention. But on the first day, before anybody even speaks, you claim that the Democrats are trying to steal the election by using a virus. And I guess this is what gets me. I've sat here for months and I've seen people who've said something to the effect of, how can Trump do anything to stop this? Like, they're basically saying he can't do anything about the virus because the virus is infecting people. And to that I say, couldn't you make the exact same argument against what he said about the Democrats? Because remember, he said they're using the virus to steal the election. So are they going out and purposely infecting people? Are they lying that 180,000 people have died? So I said the hypocrisy sometimes just is off the charts. And again, I'm not going to see a single one of his supporters mention that disconnect where they want me to believe he has no control over the virus, which at this point I would certainly be more inclined to believe than, I'll talk about the saga of him and the virus later, but at this point, I'd be more inclined to believe that than at the start of it. But then he gets to claim that the Democrats are using the virus to steal an election, and I'm supposed to just go, okay, well, I guess that's true. So the Democrats can control the virus, but he can't. The U.S. is just such a freak show. Like every time I go on Twitter, I'm so happy that I don't know any of those people on that website because they remind me of all of the bad things that happen when you just try to talk about this topic or this subject, where they will go on there and and I've seen this multiple times. You'll have someone who doesn't like Trump go on a person who likes Trump's post to announce they've blocked them, or it'll be the other way around, where you'll have someone that likes either the Democrats or whoever the hell, and they go on just they put up something, the person of the opposite affiliation sees it, and then they block them. But they have to announce that they're blocking. They can't just block you and keep it moving or ignore your message. Some Trump supporters are delusional. Yeah, but with him, it's just they've been telling me over and over, he couldn't do anything about the virus. He can't control it. But then he's saying the Democrats can control it, and they're going to use it to mess up his reelection bid, a reelection campaign. Which, by the way, if you've been right, because this is something he did that is very unusual. Most incumbent presidents don't announce that they're running until the third year of their tenure. And Trump filed to run for a second term literally hours after getting sworn in for the first term, possibly the only one. So all it takes for your 3-year reelection campaign to get screwed with is the Democrats saying some crazy crap for a few months, then doesn't that show that your reelection campaign was a bunch of like trash? See, somebody left because they wanted to hear my conversation. No, that always happens when I do a stream. There's like 99 interruptions. I was like, right as I turned the stream on, after hours of nobody calling or messaging, that happens. It's a little phenomenon. But yeah, he's been running for 3 years. So uh, this pandemic must be really powerful for the Democrats. And he's had record levels of unfavorability. Of course, that's not to suggest he would lose, because we've had plenty of people who are unfavorable to most of their constituents, and they still win anyway. You can look at McConnell. He was the least popular senator for years, and he's running for his 7th term. So it's not really when I mention his unfavorabilities, it's not to suggest that that's going to stop him from getting reelected, because low voter turnout and just a lot of factors come into play when people are voting. But it is to say, maybe if people were not planning on voting for you, it wasn't the virus that got them into the state of just saying to hell with you. Just a hunch. Yeah, I personally can't wait for this election to be over, because it's been nothing but just a complete snooze fest for most of the year. Like after Sanders got out, which was out of nowhere because we still had multiple states to go at that point, it turned into Trump saying things and doing his usual shtick, and then Biden just sitting in his basement, and every couple of days he makes some statement about how bad Trump is. And we still have to watch this stupid debate, or these 4 technically. We've got the 3 debates between Biden and Trump, which are going to be goofy, and then the 1 debate between Pence and Harris, which it hasn't even come out yet, and people are already saying she's going to cream him. And they seem to forget that the only reason Pence didn't do that well in the 2016 debate was because what's his name? Kane was that was Hillary's VP pick, was basically just talking over him. AOU is not going to write any more comments. Cat has his tongue. He was up all night writing all that music, so his keyboard stopped working. It's short circuited from all of the the musical notes that were taking place. He's just going to have me sit here and talk to myself. It's crazy too, because people are always like, I want streams. Why don't you do more streams? And then when you do a stream, nobody writes anything, or they don't show up. It's one of those two. No, this is really insane. And of course, when you go on Twitter, it's the same nonsense written over and over. You're responsible. You're a liar. I swear, I hope that whenever someone gets around to writing a book about Trump's presidency, you get some person to just have like a team of people archive all of those tweets and see who wrote the most to Trump. Because every time he puts up a new tweet, I see the same 5, 6, 7, 8 people in the comment section. You even had one broad who went on TikTok and she makes videos of herself lip syncing Trump's speeches, and you know it's not bad necessarily, but it's just kind of kind of like whatever, because you don't really need effort to do anything like that. Even with SNL, despite the fact that people don't find it as funny as they used to, they at least try to make the actors look like who they're impersonating. They have a script. With her, she literally just goes, and people watch it, and the videos go viral. And I sit there just scratching my head. That's why I said the internet will make you lose your mind over the stuff that people will pay attention to. And I'm gonna get off this topic, but there actually was a woman on Instagram who used to, I don't know if she still does it, but a couple of years ago, she would put up videos where she would put her face on some food and roll it back and forth. And people were watching that, and it was getting thousands of views. And I was just sitting there scratching my head. I'm like, I'll do a video where I'll have a script, some editing. You know, I'm not trying to sound like I'm some special person, but at least some level of effort is put into it. But then some broad takes some food and sticks her face in, and people are like, yes, must watch. So I live in the Twilight Zone. Man, that is absolutely insane. That's more insane than these comments Trump made today. At least they didn't come out of nowhere. He's been prepping us. He's mentioned repeatedly that he thinks the Democrats are trying to, do some nefarious crap with the mail-in votes. It's just kind of weird to see him before he's supposed to give this major speech in 3 days, derail attention from that speech over these remarks. There's some guy outside doing a little thing where what's a good word for it? Slamming something into the ground. I don't know. It's like, oh, he's drilling. My brain failed me for a moment there. What about the videos of women eating that get insane amount of views and donations? Well, my thing is with that, they could be sitting there staring at the camera and they would get donations. So it's less about them eating and just the fact that they're doing something very mundane and getting all of this attention for it. With her, she was just doing something really weird, but getting attention for it being very weird. This person says, how is Trump to blame for the virus? Well, first, he made a couple of, what's a good way of saying it? It took him about 3 months to really acknowledge the virus as being a problem, because for months he was just saying it's not that big of a deal, it's not that bad. And in those months, we could have possibly gotten ourselves more prepared. That's really the crux of my issue with his treatment. The only other thing I can really think of that I would directly attribute to him is not wearing a mask for I think until last month, a really long time, just months into the crisis. And the only reason that's a big deal is because when you're the head of state or the leader, you're supposed to set an example. And there are a lot of people who believe that him not wearing a mask or refusing to be seen in public with one led to some people, particularly among his supporters, not taking the virus seriously. Hell, that's the whole reason that Herman Cain's death was such a big deal to people. Oh my God, he went to a Trump rally and he didn't wear a mask, so Trump is to blame or is at fault. By the way, the only time I ever mentioned that before here is when I did a stream. And I think it was Music Fiend that came in the stream and he was like, "What do you think about Herman Cain?" And then I said that because just let's keep it real. Cain hadn't been significant in what, 8 years? Like beyond going on Fox News every couple of months, he didn't really do much that was in the way of actually being notable in recent time. So I just basically said whatever. Which is actually kind of crazy. It's like the last time he was in the news nationally or doing anything that was like a really big deal was before I even started like regularly following politics. Like that's how long ago it was that he did something that was major. Okay, I appreciate ALU finally writing the second comment. I was getting worried about him. I remember there was a woman who acts like a dog and gets paid for it. There's actually a video on Twitter, and I think I might have screenshotted it months ago, but I don't know if I can find it. Where somebody was like naked outside, and they had reindeer, they had antlers on their head. It was a woman, and then some guy was driving. It was really weird. But I remember it was posted, and then people were trying to say, "This is what California does to people." I was like, no, it doesn't. I've never seen that in real life. For all I know, somebody could have done that for the camera. Meaning that they got two people to dress up and look kind of weird on camera so they could record it and say, "This is happening over here." It's entirely possible. And again, it's really strange that you would see one act of just bizarre behavior and then accuse the whole state of fostering that behavior. Hey, but you know how guilt by association works. TikTok sues Trump administration over executive order. I'm not bothering with that. Yeah, the Trump TikTok saga isn't even really with me. It doesn't have any personal resonance because I don't use TikTok or really know that much about it. Um, on the surface level, it looks like you can make the case of it being a violation of freedom of speech, but again, I don't want to judge his action on that until I review it, as in actually know what case he's making for getting rid of it, what the website actually is. And that's that. Kevin says he liked Romney. Uh, I wasn't really I haven't been a fan of the Romneys since the 80s, since the not the 80s, the 60s. Oh man, you probably won't even get that reference. That's the screwed up part. Don't worry, I'll explain it in a moment. Give me a second. Did I forget his dad's name? Oh, that's terrible. I feel really bad now. I'm gonna have to whoop myself. Oh, George Romney. Yeah, I like his dad. I don't really like his son. Duel says, I can't believe Trump said publicly that he should be able to profit from TikTok sale. What a dope. Yeah, I don't really understand how any politician should be able to, unless maybe they invented that website or that app themselves. I don't understand his argument there. Like for what reason should he receive the profits from their success? I don't get it. I thought that's why I said a lot of people just act crazy. When they're saying things, they don't even care. They just state something. ALU says he wanted to ban TikTok because of China. Oh, okay, that ties into. I already talked about this on the Iran video where China and Russia were expected to help the U.S., or I guess the U.S. wanted those two countries to help them with messing with Iran in the UN, but we already have antagonistic relationships with both of them. So of course they said no. But that's probably payback, or that happened before that. So that's just part of the ongoing feud that we have with them, the economic war. If you let China use you, I'm not going to let you be used in the U.S. Not Duel. I can just picture Duel. I can't believe Trump said publicly. I mean, I believe it. This is the same person who said the noise on windmills caused cancer. Why does nobody remember that? I've only seen one politician mention that in the months after he said that. That comment was so bad because basically there's this claim that all the Republicans always side with Trump because they don't want to lose his votes or his supporters. That comment was so bad. The senior senator from Iowa, Grassley, had to come out and say, yeah, that was stupid. Well, I still think the dumbest one was the windmills, the noise on windmills caused cancer. The idea that a sound could transmit a disease. I'm gonna say that about somebody's video. When I watch this, like, this video caused me to develop this illness. That's gonna be my new catchphrase. Every time somebody makes a video I don't like. I can't believe we made it through most of his presidency. Don't say most. We might still have a second term to go through. No, I do like watching those early TYT videos where they're like, World War III might be coming before Trump's first year is over. And then with Cenk, Trump won't even make 18 months. Matter of fact, I think what I'll do, regardless of whether he wins or not on election day, I'll put up a video where it's like throwback. It's like, remember when Cenk said that Trump would resign in disgrace soon? 3 years ago, in August of 2017. You don't believe he did that, do you? And actually, if I go even further back in TYT's archive, I can find videos where Cenk was predicting that Trump would make a full year in office. That he was talking about 6 months, at the most 18 months. Damn, they. Oh, let's not forget the Loser Donald series where he would recap all of Trump's supposed failures during the lead up to the 2016 election, and it was supposed to be this like big thing of the loss in this election, in that election cycle, was going to be the biggest loss of them all. And then when Trump won, he made the little video where he went, "Oops," and then nobody talked about that anymore. That's what that reminded me of when you said that. I can't believe we made it through most of his presidency. I can believe it because most of the time when somebody gets elected, it takes a very swift, coordinated effort to get rid of them. And it just was never going to happen. You've had prior politicians who in office have committed crimes or done things that are supposedly illegal, and they don't get kicked out. And that impeachment trash was always a scam by Democrats to waste people's time and divert from actually talking about issues that can help people. They spent, what was that, 6 months impeaching him and knowing that it wasn't actually going to result in him getting removed from office because they didn't have enough votes. Just a bunch of clowns. Oh, somebody messaged me. I'm so excited. I can't even spell this man's name. Give me a second. I'll be done with this in a moment. Yeah, I'm really shocked that you still have people who are trying to say that this mail-in vote stuff is going to supposedly. I mean, it's just him trying to cover for himself. That's all it is. He's going to spend probably the next 3 months going, "Oh, we can't do mail-in voting. It's going to be rigged. It's going to be rigged." Then, if he wins, you're never going to hear about mailed-in voting being rigged ever again. If we had this virus 3 years ago when the last election took place, it would have been the same thing. He would have said, "Oh my God, if we do mail-in voting, they're going to have." And he actually has perpetuated the conspiracy theory that the his loss of the popular vote, which again does not mean you lose the election, just means that most people that have voted didn't vote for you, that wasn't actually a legitimate thing. So he went around saying that there were 3 million illegal immigrants who voted in the last election with no proof, nothing to back his work. I mean, and again, it's just a blatant attempt to rewrite history. That's why on Wikipedia, as much as I hate that website, they have him under the conspiracy theorist category because he had the Obama, the birther conspiracy, the voter fraud for that last election conspiracy, obviously the mail-in voting one right now. We're gonna name this the conspiracy tenure, the CT. It's funny too because he was saying, "Oh, the Democrats believing Russians messed with the last election were being conspiracy theorists," and then after that conspiracy ends, then he starts a new one with this mail-in voting is the devil saga that we have going on. Oh, speaking of the virus, somebody got reinfected in another country. I don't remember which one it was. Oh, this damn thing. I wish it would be over. What a lousy year. Like I just realized this virus consumed the entire, like not even just since March. It was in December, which is the reason they call it COVID-19 is because in December of last year they first detected it, and then it took 3 months for stuff to start getting shut down over here. But that virus has literally been around and just been consuming the entire last what 8 9 months. Oh my God. Okay, that's why. Because I was trying to figure out where did he even make these comments. Maybe the aliens will show up. Well, I was gonna say I was trying to figure out when did Trump even make these comments, So after because I'm not even like watching any of that, the convention. Well, it's not really going on at this point. But I was trying to figure out where the hell did he make these comments, and it was after he got nominated. He went up and made surprising remarks, and that's when he made the claim about the Democrats using the virus to steal the election, and the mail-in voting is like the spawn of Satan. Okay, we still have a few months left, and that's when you said maybe the aliens will. Oh, we're gonna have a Destroy All Humans cameo. You remember that game where you get in the saucer and fly up, and then you come down, and you might not remember what I'm talking about. It got remade. I think it was earlier this year. That's the kind of year we're having. I've just never seen a year completely consumed by a disease that even if they cure everybody, we're still not going to be able to do things regularly for another. Hell, it might even take half of next year. This. And again, the biggest thing that bugs me is just the fact that you have to keep going out everywhere wearing a damn mask and having all this stuff shut down. Because they basically made it to where you can't do multiple things you used to be able to do, and you have to be more uncomfortable doing the few things that you can still do. Like I didn't mention this on my stream on Saturday because I got bombarded with some drama, but I had a job interview on Friday, and after I spoke to the I guess facilitator of it, I was like, they were like, "Oh, I'd shake your hand, but it's like, well, that's something that used to be so easy and simple, and really, like, I have to still remind myself, don't shake anybody's hand." But it was just a really basic and customary thing that, because of this virus, has been turned into kind of like a death sentence. I had never thought I'd see the day where you can't even shake somebody's hand. But again, that's the nature of this virus. That's why it's so deadly and just freaky to think about. And I was actually thinking of doing a video explaining how it brought everyone down to my level because they're talking about the record levels of unemployment, and I was already unemployed. And then what else? People not going anywhere, and that was already what I was doing. No, this week I got really pissed off with this individual I was speaking to earlier and applied to, I think it was 20 places in one day, 22. And then over the course of this week, I just keep seeing in my email, thank you for applying to. Unfortunately, we are not unable to accept this. Just rejection after rejection after rejection. I was like, how the hell? And then one of them says, oh, let's have an interview. And I go into this interview and they do that little stupid thing. They smile on your face, ask you all these questions, act like they're so interested in what you have to say. And then you get an email 2 days later saying, no thanks, but no thanks. And you're like, well, hell, what was the difference between the people who said thanks, but no thanks without interviewing me and the person who had me come to be interviewed, claim that they were so interested in what I was saying and then said thanks, but no thanks anyway. Like, damn, because getting to a lot of these different places can get annoying due to the fact that you have to drive over to where they are. And then it's like, for what? It doesn't matter. It's just a big waste of time. But if you say, I'm not going to go because I'm probably not going to get it, you'll get accused of having the self-fulfilling prophecy, even though everything that has happened basically gives you good reason to believe this one place that is asking to interview probably won't be any different. I mean, it has been the runaround with these damn employers. Hell News says, I have that. I wish they would. He didn't say it. He wrote it. I have that. I wish they would just do a phone interview so they wouldn't waste so much of people's time. Well, I told you the most jarring thing is you have a lot of people who come on here and say, you need an application. But when you fill out their, not application, a resume or whatever, but when you fill out the application, they ask you about the previous people you worked for, describe yourself, your availability, all of the stuff that you would think they would need to know if they're going to hire someone just on, from looking at them on paper. So it really kind of makes the interview seem like a retread of information you already gave them. It's kind of like if I said, for me to, what's a good example? Hire you, give me your name, your birthday, your previous places you worked, and your availability. And then after you give all that, I ask the interview, and I'm like, so what's your name? Tell me your birthday. Tell me your availability. It's like, but this was already disclosed to you on my file. So what? We're just here to restate the obvious. Basically, it's like if from the way these interviews are conducted, they might as well just have you put your name on a piece of paper, and then pray for. Well, no, the interview basically ignores the application. They take the application and all they remember from it is your name, and then they ask you a bunch of the same questions that were on the application. It's like, hey, we know we had you sit here for 5 to 10 minutes filling this damn thing out. Now we're going to have you sit here for another 5 to 10, maybe even 20 minutes, being asked the same thing a second time, except this time it's while speaking to some person working for our company. Again, I'm just tired of the runaround, but that's why I said it was when people were talking about the record, like unemployment, I was like, wow, people are really just now getting into the situation I had where you just keep like applying places and hearing nothing back. It was really crazy. Like they've been brought down to my level. I wasn't gonna say up to my level because this is the bottom of the barrel. Imagine you fill out some applications for me and I'm like, I'll get back to you or if I think you're qualified. And then after you fill them out, I ask you to come interview you, and I just ask you the same thing a second time. Again, you might as well even fill out the application other than put your name on it. Again, I'll eventually do the next excrement employers video, but it's the number of places since December that I've sent stuff to it at least has to be in the 130s. I mean, this is driving me crazy. I would have never guessed in a million years people would when I was talking to the individual that was interviewing me, I didn't have the heart to tell them because they said, oh well, it's probably been way more difficult to get a job after the virus. I was like, yeah, sure. We're not going to mention the fact that for 3 months before the virus started, I was applying to dozens of places and kept hearing nothing back. Hell, I've had more, if I guess, quote unquote success with the virus because I've had 2 interviews this year, whereas with this year after the virus took off, whereas before in that 3-month period there were none. It was just me filling out a bunch of damn papers and hearing nothing back. And then you tell people, oh, this stuff is bothering me. You must be doing something wrong. I told you about the clown who told me to lie on the paper, even though all these people say if they find out you're lying, they can terminate your employment at any moment. So I'm gonna lie on this paper, and then I'm gonna gamble. I'm gonna hope that they don't look up to see that I'm full of crap. And then my favorite part, right before filling all those out, YouTube demonetized them. It's like, yes, thank you for making this even more difficult. Good job. So you cannot catch a break online. They will, Like between online and real life, I don't blame people when they just say the hell with it and jump off a bridge or something. Because if you try with a lot of this stuff, it'll drive you crazy. Like you can literally do everything in a way that people would say is right, and they will still find ways to make it seem like it's your fault. The person that applied for 130 jobs is the reason he's unemployed, not the people who won't hire him, much less interview him. I think we're pretty much done here. I don't know what else to say about that. Our wonderful commander in chief. Because again, we've already touched on the fact that the mailing votes are just being attacked by him for the reason of saying that they're going to help the Democrats win. Like nobody who votes by mail is going to vote for Trump. And the other part was like him getting blamed for the virus, but then blaming the Democrats for like saying they're two sides of the same coin. Where they blame him for not doing something about the virus, but then he blames them for doing something with the virus. So at first it's he can't control it, but then they can. So many interruptions during a stream. That's just what happens now. I just don't understand how anybody is like when I look at a lot of these political channels, especially the ones I watch regularly, I'm just sitting there scratching my head because they have really been able. I think I mentioned that one of the reasons I started doing other stuff a little bit more often is because I got so burnt out with politics after the virus hit. And I don't know how these other channels are doing it. They're just, and they're not even, because what I try to do is look up obscure stuff, like little stuff with Iran that didn't really get that much coverage. They're just talking about the election and then sometimes the virus. I'm like, how the hell does anyone stay invested in that and not get bored? And their subs love it. Like I was looking, I saw where the virus has gotten this many number of cases, 30,000 views. So there's a lot of people that like that. Uh, I really did. I'm glad I went the way I did because I just couldn't talk about the same two people every day and then the same, uh, I guess, saga every week. Like after the first 2 or 3 weeks or the first month, discussing the virus got really, really boring. I mean, because basically everybody already knew what information was important. Get the mask, socially distance, wash your hands. All the important stuff, all the essential stuff. And then after that, it was just, oh, this person said don't do any of that. That's TYT's thing. Oh, don't worry, they're gonna get theirs too. We got a video on them coming. They're on their way down the chopping block. Cenk always says something goofy. I remember when I was in 12th grade, I had this teacher, and one of the kids came and said, just out of nowhere while he was talking, "You're goofy," and then he responded with like a grin or a laugh. I think I'm more of a Mickey, and all of us started laughing over the Disney reference. Yeah, it's really disappointing to be a person who covers this stuff. Put it over there. I think that's really it. That's just kind of the gist of his remarks. I wanted to get it because when I read the headline, I couldn't believe it, and just discuss that along with some other things. And again, I try to not make it deviate too much from the topic at hand. What else can I say? Oh, maybe I might do a another DB video this week because I got writer's block with this other one I was planning on doing. So, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Um, and I also like that we had people hit the like button because that doesn't happen too often around here. I don't get engagement. I think I even mentioned I had one of my subs on the stream like a week or two ago who was like, "Does hitting the like button even matter?" And I'm like, no, it's just there for display. People are like, "See, look, I got 1,000 people to click the button." Yeah. I was like, who the hell thinks this website put that there with no purpose? That's why I said like, there's a big disconnect between people who make videos and people who watch videos. Oh my god.